To your spiritual vaccine hour. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. That was one of my dearest spiritual mentors, Sister Genti. She just got back to the UK after being in India for a little bit over 4 months. I think it was 5 months now that she's been there. So Sister Geeta is looking so good today, everyone. She looks great. She got her hair done. And we had a cute scene where she had on these, what do you call them? Eyelashes. And then we started to smile and I go, where did you get those from? But I was just looking at it, I go, Sister Geeta, you look so good today. Keep it up, keep it up. You look so good. It makes my heart so happy, you all. You have no idea. That when I see her looking so good and her energy feels so good, it just makes me feel pretty good. So this is great. You know, ever so often we go through our ups and downs, our ins and outs. You know, it's not always easy for any of us. I mean, we have different waves of emotions that come and go inside. Before we came on air, I was telling Santosh as he was doing a little check, and I was looking in the camera and I said, you know, I look into my eyes and I look at the soul and I was saying to myself, I don't see you going through this health opportunity. I could see you maybe going through something else, but I don't, you know, there are times I can just see things, and even though I have attachment to my name, form, whatever role that I play, there are very significant moments in my life that I can see that no, I'm pretty detached from my role, that I can be very mindful about the messages that I get, or the discernment that I develop, or the understanding that I capture. And I was looking at myself in the camera today and I just said to Santosh, I don't see myself going through this health opportunity. I'm looking into the soul and I go, I don't see that there. I can see anything else, but I don't see that. Anyway, life continues, right? One never knows all the answers to life, but it's been interesting because I've been looking at the soul, and every morning I've been working on saying, let go of things, Jen, let go of your past, lovingly forgive yourself for everything in the past, keep putting joy in your life. Keep continuing with what you've done your whole journey, which is to serve, to share, to be present, to be myself. You know, the self that I've now, you know, as I, you know, go into my later part of my 50s, a self that feels pretty okay with the person that she is so far. And she's also opened to a lot of new things, realizations, things that are going to open up. My health opportunity has opened up 2 windows I had no idea were there. So the journey continues, you know, but I kept saying, I look in, I don't see it. I look inside, I said, I just don't see it. So let's see, to be continued. Might be something else significant brewing. Who knows, right? Anyway, how's everybody doing? What's new? What's happening? What's the latest? Have you been well? Have you been taking care of yourself? I sure hope so. I'm telling you, man, your health is like everything. We've been having this really nice America Meditating Weaver group. And as you might have known if you've been following us, every year the America Meditating team sponsors and organizes a retreat for the incredible guests that we have on the show every year. So we usually have this retreat at our center in New York called Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center. And as you know, everything is locked down. So we did a virtual retreat. And just like what we had expected, that a lot of our friends who had attended retreats in the past were very much like resisting the fact there's no way we're going to sit on a Zoom for 2 days in a retreat mode, 4 hours, and actually enjoy it. But I have to tell you, I don't remember one single person who walked away from that retreat and felt unfulfilled. The energy, the intent, the ambiance was created in such a way that I felt like it served everyone at a deeper level. And so anyway, after the retreat, we host a segment of the retreat includes creating Weaver groups, which was coined from David Brooks' movement called the Weaver Movement. If you want some more information on that, just go to the Aspen Institute and look for Weaver Movement, or just Google David Brooks and the Weaver Movement. So every year we put together groups of different of our guests and participants to do a Weaver Movement, and I'm in one. What story I'm trying to get to? I'm in one of the Weaver groups as well, and my intention, what we do, we hold an intention for each person in the group. It's about 8 of us, maybe, or a little bit more or less. And each of us will take one day and hold that person's intent in pure feelings. And we just send those vibrations to that person. Just send it. Just keep sending them the good wish. And mine was health. I mean, I've never asked for anything where my health is concerned. I mean, I barely get a cold. I barely get a flu, you know, and it's been so interesting for me, I have to tell you. It's been a whole new awakening. Thanks to Jean Houston. We had a nice chit chat the other day, and also giving me some nice advice. I want to give a big thanks to Lynn, who sent me some nice alternative methods that I could use. So I really appreciate that. Lynn McTaggart. She's got a beautiful book out called The Power of 8, which is all about her intentional program. So if you want more information on that, please go to her. And of course, you know, my beautiful, beautiful family here, Antonia, Santosh, everybody who has been so thoughtful, Maria, Mary Flo, Lakshmi, Ram, everybody, Reverend Sylvia, Ivy, so many of you who have just showed up in so many ways. Heather Shea, United Palace, Piper, Elaine. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but those are some of the people in my intention group. That's why I'm quickly remembering them. And so every day they'll have a healing moment for me at 10:30 every day. It's so touching. And today, Bonnie Meyer, do you have Bonnie's book available, Santosh? Bonnie Meyer from California. She's the author of a book called Perfectly Paired. And I think maybe Santosh can show that on. So today, when in the afternoon, FedEx came by our door, and I got this beautiful gift by Bonnie Meyer, The Love Affair Behind Silver Oak Cellars, Perfectly Paired. By the way, Bonnie wants it to become a movie, and she would like Meryl Streep to play her part. And the reason why I'm making an announcement about that today is because Meryl Streep has a similar relationship the way that Bonnie and her husband did. So Meryl, if you get wind of this, contact Bonnie Meyer, but we'll also do our best to reach out to you. But these beautiful flowers came. Aren't they gorgeous? How much was it, Santos? 60, I think, roses? 50 or 60 came. So there's some over here on this side, there's some here, there's some there, there's some in my room, and there's some at the entrance. So thank you, Bonnie Meyer. Thank you very much. It's very, very thoughtful. That was discernment. Discernment is when you're living from a deep place of honesty, and from that place of honesty you can also sense the needs of things, and in your sensing the needs of things, it initiates from within you a choice to make. And so when you make the choice based on your discerning abilities, it's got to come up gold. It's got to come up gold. It's got to come up fruitful. It's going to make people happy. It's going to bring joy in terms of not only the receiver, but the one who gave it from joy. I have a tendency of sending yellow roses, and I'll tell you the meaning behind it. Many, many, many years ago, I think it was my second trip to India. I think it was my second trip to Mount Abu, India, the Brahma Kumaris, when I was going to meet Baba. Every year we went to the mountaintop, and we went once or twice a year to the mountaintop, and we would go deep into meditation and remembrance and reflection, looking at the journey and the soul and the sanskars and the personalities and the karmas that I'm traveling with. And this particular year, I was just been in love with God for a long time. Again, like the living Hanuman, when you open up my chest, all you're going to see is Baba's light just shining through my heart. It's just going to be brighter than 1,000 suns. And that's where I get all my energy from. It's really from Baba's light. So I was in Mount Abu in Madhaban, and I was commissioned to come up on the stage and have this very deeper, intimate experience of Baba on the stage. And when I went on the stage, the trance messenger, Daddy Gulza, who is a beautiful yogi sister and just has the most purest presence, but a power and a profundity in her power that would never intimidate you, but the depth of her power is so pure that it invites you. And as it invites you in, it makes you want to be a better version of yourself. So when I went up and I had my meeting, I had my beautiful experience with God, I was given a yellow rose. To this day, I still have that yellow rose. I was given this yellow rose. And the significance of the yellow rose is, we will be friends forever. So whenever I send my yellow roses, I remember that time and what it has meant to me to pass on the experience of when I received a yellow rose from God, and how I've kept that yellow rose so sacredly close to me. And even a few years ago, I remembered sorting out some drawers, and I had come across it again, and it's in a little picture box that I keep. And I'd opened up the picture box, and would you believe it if I told you that rose still had a fragrance? And that's about 25 years ago. It was the energy that it was given with. So I think when I also got my beautiful roses from Bonnie, I was just remembering that experience about, it's the friendships over a long period of time that really keep you going. And my relationship with God has always been mostly friend. And I think that's why I'm so natural on my journey of spirituality. I think maybe some people might think it's not the best kind. I don't know. I'm not going to waste any thought about what they think about me. I've done enough of that in my 20s and in my 30s and a little bit in my 40s, but it's not that heavy on my heart like it was in my 20s or 30s. But I just feel that if I'm a friend to God and with God, I won't be so heavy. I won't be so heavy with everything. I'll always find this room of being very honest and transparent, and as a result of the ease of my relationship with the divine, my discernment, I felt it to be very sharp. Today Santosh was sharing with me that, sister, you're just so quick, you're so sharp, And I says, I don't know if I put much in this lifetime to have an intellect like mine, especially when it comes on to creativity, right? Especially when it comes on to creativity. Nobody can knock me out the ballpark with that. And I think I'm justified with my ego for that one. I mean, I'll just look at something and I'll go, oh no, that should be like that. And any of you who know me, if Ivy's on, or Sylvia, or Kanu, or anybody who's on, who's worked with me, you know that in a second, if I look at something, I'll see it differently. I'll see the possibility in it. I'll see where it can go another 10 miles forward. Like it could just be better than the way that it's presenting itself. So he was sharing with me, like, you really have discernment. And I said, you do too. It's just that each of us have it in a different way. My discernment is always going to be focused on at least 90%, is the larger picture of the well-being of people's lives. That's always first and foremost in my consciousness. Then the runnings of the Brahma Kumaris and all the activities that are surrounded with the Brahma Kumaris. And I hate to say this, and I'm actually almost having a little bit of a resistance. Then me. That was so weird. This is a aha moment for me right now, everyone. The well-being of people, the runnings and making sure everything is okay with the Brahma Kumaris, and then me. How interesting is that? Anyway, I'm going to have to revisit that because I'm just having a moment of realization on the air with you live right now. And then me. Third. Anyway, we were talking about that, and I said that my discernment has been rooted like this for a long time. And Santosha's discernment is, I don't want to give anybody sorrow, which is a wonderful discernment to have. It can be damaging, though, if you don't want to give anybody sorrow and the organization is crumbling, you know what I mean? Right, brother? He just has this really delicate, gentle nature about him. And I remember the time at the first meditation museum. You ready to hear a nice story? I know you all love our stories. It was the first meditation museum. It was the one that was downtown Silver Spring, not the one that's near the Beltway now, the bigger one. And I happened to have been in the museum that day too. And it was near, like a block away from a shepherd's table, which was a facility to give food to those who didn't have a home, or they would give temporary housing to some who needed a home. So there'd be a guy who would kind of come in and out ever so often. And this was an elderly man. When I looked at his energy and his being, he seemed like someone that had a really significant role in life at some point, and something just went the other direction for him. And anyway, he came in the museum, and at the steps, Santosh, I don't know if you'll remember, he gave Santosh a bag of wine. It was a bottle of wine. So Santosh comes to me, and he takes the bottle of wine, of course, from the gentleman. Then he comes to me and he says, "Sister, he gave me this bottle of wine, but I don't drink wine." And I just looked at Santosh and I said, "But Santosh, why did you take it? You know we don't do alcohol here, and you know it's not good karma to take alcohol, much less in the space." "I know, but what do we do with this bottle of wine, sister?" I go, "I don't know, that's your karma. You have to take care of it. I cannot do this wine." And what did you do? Did you try to find him to give it back to him? I think hesitantly, he tried to find him to give him back the bottle of wine. Why am I telling you the story? Because he's so bent on not giving sorrow that he might break his own principles, in a sense that he can deal with dealing whatever he has to go through to make sure that you're better. And it almost reminds me of the fact that I'm in almost the same category when it comes on to discernment, that I put myself in third place. But anyway, we all have some ability of discernment, but how do I make my discernment extremely sharp? The virtue of honesty will be essential. When the virtue of honesty is applied and practiced, every day in whatever way. Whether it's you're going to be honest with yourself with not eating more calories than you need to, or like I said, I've been so good with not having coffee because I'm cleansing my systems and making sure everything in my body just feels a little bit more healthier and strong. And I'm vegetarian, and I have a really good routine with my body. And I eat in the mornings, and I'll eat in the later on in the afternoon, but I don't usually eat dinner. I eat something light. Since the pandemic, we've been eating a little bit after the evening. For some reason, after the shows, we feel so hungry that we end up eating supper later at night. But what happened was, I've learned that the more I can apply honesty. So even though I told you I haven't had coffee, one morning I got up and I had to smell it. So I percolated it. I didn't even make instant coffee. I actually percolated it so the aroma could spread in the kitchen. And I could walk in the kitchen with that aroma, And then a week later, I was like, oh, man, I'm still feeling this need for this coffee. And I just said, ugh. And then about 2 days after that week, I caved. And I drank my coffee. But then when I drank my coffee, I practiced honesty. I says, Jen, it's painful for you to not have it, and it's painful for you to have it, so just have it. And so then I just drank the coffee. And I was honest about myself with that. And after that, I didn't want it again. So there was something very profoundly powerful in not only the self-honesty, but also the ability to sharpen my discerning ability. Because I also know, in terms of what I'm trying to achieve, is my body to be very healthy and very clean. And so my discernment has to keep giving me the power to make choices that move me towards light. When I lack discernment, my discernment will move me towards where there's a shadow or where there's darkness. So when I'm lacking that discernment, I'm not being honest with myself. There's something that I'm not in touch with. There's something that I'm denying. There might be something that I just don't have the power to face at this time. Or it could be something I'm just suppressing. Like I don't have it. I don't have the courage. Like the other day, I was telling you I didn't have the courage to tell, my family of certain things. And you can feel it, like you don't know how to open up. There's something that's deeper there. So there are times that we won't feel we have the honesty to make the right decision. But what I'd like to suggest, in whatever small ways you can practice honesty, like I did with the coffee. Like I'll do with, if I'm even wasting my thoughts or having an unusual or an unnecessary thought, I'll say, Jen, why are you doing this? Where's this going? Where's it taking you? Okay. And I will determine, do I want to go there or not? And so even like, let's say if your routine has changed, especially during the pandemic. Now I hear Florida, Texas, California are having to close down again because the cases are spiking up so high. And congratulations to New York for doing such a good job. And I was wondering, why is it it's all the states that have good weather? Like everybody's so addicted to being out and being free. But I'm just so sorry that they're going through that, especially Governor Newsom did such a great job. Kudos to him. He was dynamite. That's why we have to listen. And we have to pay attention to these things, because all of that effort that he made, it's almost as if it was fruitless. And just because of a few people who go, I don't need a mask, I don't need gloves, this pandemic is a hoax. Now look, we're back exactly where we started, So please, all we need is just a few weeks. Everybody, just put on your gloves and your masks when you're going out, especially in gatherings. Just make that 2-week sacrifice, everybody. And that's what discernment does. If you were discerning, Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, New Jersey wouldn't be in the same position, wouldn't be in the position that they're in today. That's simple. Do you know why? Because your discernment would have told you this is a very dangerous virus and that we're not out of the ballpark yet. And yes, we're all frustrated to be locked up. And yes, I want our meditation museums to be opened. And I would open them tomorrow. And in my deepest heart, I go, look, I know our students and folks. We're one of the most cleanest group of people you'll ever meet. I bathe at least 3 times a day, always washing the hands. We do this, we do this, we do that, we do that. Come on. I know I'm like that. It doesn't mean everybody else is. So what the discernment that was needed is for the American citizens to have discerned that if they don't make a sacrifice and almost, in a way, look at the important value of freedom in this country, that the incredible amount of freedom that we have, it shouldn't imprison you. It shouldn't imprison your mind in such a way that you can't make discerning choices. You watch the news, you listen to leadership, you hear your friends and your family keep telling you this and that. Sit in silence with your inner honesty and discern. Is what I'm thinking or about to say or do taking me closer to God's wisdom and God's qualities? Because in order for you to really build your discernment, you're going to need a lot of energy of silence and stillness, which will come when you practice your honesty. It will just emerge in your subconscious. But just imagine this, everyone. If everyone was understanding the power of discernment, we would be like New Zealand. There wouldn't be a single case of the coronavirus in this country. And it saddens me to see the global leaders that America leads the cases of the coronavirus. I was surprised that India ranked, I believe, second. I was also surprised that Russia was third. And it made me continuously think, 3 superpowers. I don't know what the Russian Prime President has done for his country. I'm aware of what the American leadership has done for this country. I suspect from keeping up with Prime Minister Modi, he did a fantastic job with 1 billion people, but still the cases went up. If we are discerning, it wouldn't go up. That discernment wouldn't take our country into that direction. You might be at home on the couch and you might be looking at Fox or CNN or MSNBC or ABC or whatever, BBC, which is what Santosh likes to catch up his news stuff and give me all the updates. I get my updates on Twitter, which is not always good at all. But you can get mixed feelings and you can be unclear when you see leaders out without a mask and everyone else is wearing a mask and they're not wearing a mask. And you're like, well, if they're not wearing a mask, then I don't need to wear a mask. So in a way, that karma falls on the responsibility of that, because you know how serious this is. And you are a voice of influence. And if people see you in a particular way, they want to mimic you. Discernment. Leaders need discernment. And in order to be an effective leader, not only does your leadership require a great deal of honesty that will give you sharp discernment. But a really effective leader inspires its people. They not only inspire their people, they encourage their people to be a better version of themselves. An inspirational leader with very sharp discernment will somehow invite everyone to feel very comfortable in your presence. Interesting, isn't it? So when it comes on to the whole issue of discernment, I invite you today to sharpen up with your level of self-honesty and just think about some of the choices that you make. I'm so surprised that we've gone on for so long today. I didn't even know the time had passed like this. Santosh, I'm so sorry. Anybody with any thoughts, because then we're going to come to a close. I know we had some videos prepared. Sorry. But are there any thoughts on your mind about today's discussion and thoughts about the importance of truth and just the importance of really deciphering what is truthful and what is an illusion? You look at a zirconia diamond, or you look at a zirconia ring, and then you look at a diamond ring that's 5-carat real diamond, and you look at a zirconia, and both of them are the same size, both of them look like the same design, but one is fake and one is real. But the only person who can distinguish that is a gemologist, the one who knows what would be a real diamond and what isn't, because he has the experience of what goes inside, what is in a real diamond. And so in the same way for yourself, to develop the experience of truthfulness and virtues and values, and to think about the well-being of other people. And again, I had my realization about putting myself third. I'm still going to work on that when the show ends, because that was a big awakening for me just now. But still, to think about the well-being of others in a balanced way will help you to really determine your choices. I'll tell you a few things that I do when I make decisions and I discern them. I think about not just the future year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years from now, but I think about immediately how I'm going to feel when I make this choice. The second thing I think about is, do I want to repeat this particular scenario in my life every 5,000 years? In the teachings of Raja Yoga meditation, there is an understanding that somehow mystically and cyclically, karmas repeat every 5,000 years at a soul level. And so, do I want to repeat what I'm about to do every 5,000 years, knowing that every decision that I make needs to come from discernment, but that it carries a consequence? That's the second thing that I think about. The third thing I think about, how is this going to roll over for me in my next life or in my other lives to come? So those 3 steps. 1, how is it making me feel at the moment? 2, do I want to repeat making this decision at this particular time using my discernment every 5,000 years, which means what goes around comes around. History repeats itself, déjà vu, whatever's the language you want to use. Or the third aspect, will I be able to live with this decision in my future life? I think about people who have stolen from people. It's a story about a king who had a lot of issues, but he had gone to the people in his village And he actually stole from the people in his village. And as a result of stealing from the people of this village, his village became very, very poor. On his deathbed, he made a confession to his son, who was the heir of the throne, that he regretted taking all the money from the kingdom and leaving his people starving. So he died with that on his conscience. And the story goes that he took a rebirth, that he came in a very, very poor family. And no matter how much he grew and made effort or worked for a living, he could never keep money. It would always slip out of his hands. No matter how hard he worked, the money would leave him. And I thought about that story a lot, and how karma has a way of just catching you, you know, in weird ways. There's another story about another king. Had 3 daughters, and he asked one of the daughter, who's taking care of your life? Who's in charge of your life and has given you all of this? And the first princess says, you, father. He says, very good. He went to the second princess and asked, who's responsible for your destiny in your life? She says, you, father. And then the third daughter he went to, he says, so, who's responsible for the way that you are living and how you have lived for your whole life? She says, father, your highness, with all due respect, I am. And he went back and he goes, how dare you? What do you mean, you? It's me. It's my karmas. And he banned her from the kingdom. He goes, oh really? If it's your karma, I ban you from the kingdom. And he actually threw his daughter out of the kingdom. 10 years had passed. And it turns out she became one of the most wealthiest people in the kingdom, even though she was outside of the palace. She found out that her father was dying. She went to the palace after not being there for 10 years. And the other 2 sisters were there living and doing their thing. But his palace had reached a point that it was becoming bankrupt. And he was about to raise his taxes on the people again. But he was also dying. So she went to see him with camel loads of gold and wealth and food. And she went to see her father to give him the final rites and all of that. And the king looked up at her with such a gentle eyes, and he said to her, you're right. You were living off of your own fortune. I'm sorry. And he passed away. Even though these are stories about the intensity of karma, your karmas are determined on the power of your discernment and how you use it. Always choose what is real, what is light, what is pure, and what gives you peace of mind. So I'm going to play a nice little message from our beautiful Sister Genti, and then we'll come back. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you, and then we'll call it a night.
I'd like to begin with a greeting of peace, Om Shanti, which means Om, I am, and that refers to the inner being. And Shanti means peace, and it's a very beautiful expression to keep coming back to again and again. And in a way, it sums up what is essential spirituality. To be able to know what is essential for my life, which means to know who I truly am, to know the inner being, the self. That's really such an important aspect of being able to live a life in which there's happiness and love. And so often we've moved so far away from the aspects of truth and love and joy in our lives. And so I'd like us to be able to explore some of those reasons why things are the way they are, but also maybe we can find some different perspectives to look at the same story. And once we've been able to look at the same thing from a different angle, then maybe we're going to find some solutions. For me, spirituality is maybe three things. Being able to connect with myself once more, which sounds a bit odd, but it's the reality. We're connected so much with the external persona, we forget about connecting with the inner being. And secondly, to be able to connect with the divine, the source, whatever I may know the source to be. But how do I connect and draw what I need within myself? And thirdly, on the basis of these two aspects, to use this inner capacity that's now being developed and to be able to use my inner potential in the best possible way in the work that I do in the world and the relationships that I have with others around me. Although I know that caring and compassion is part of the soul itself, I forget it so often. And so maybe what we can do is have a meditation in which we connect with that part of the self in which we realize that this is innate and natural. So let's have a meditation and go on that journey. I come back to the awareness of the inner being, the being that I am, a being of light, a being of peace, a being of love. And in this awareness, I realize that compassion and care are part of the subject of love. I go deep within myself, letting go of the harshness that I've learned. I learned it to try and protect myself. I had been hurt, and so I put up my defenses by becoming hard. But now, understanding things differently, I know that the best protection is through love. When going deep within, I find that space where there is pure love. And in this awareness, I also find compassion and care. I understand that the expression of love in my life is going to be through caring for others, without expectation, without seeking anything in return, just simply being able to give altruistically. This is the natural state of being of the soul. Peace and love, compassion and care. Holding this in my awareness, I come back to the present moment and the things that I need to do. But above everything else, I remind myself that all that I do has to be done with care for the other. Om Shanti.
All right, that was absolutely a perfect way to taper down to our evening's program. And Barbara Goodman, I am nowhere near sad today at all, not even a little. If you've watched and followed me all these, I don't know, months or years, I might be one of just the most honest, transparent, and open people you'll ever meet, but with still a sense of sensitivity of other people's feelings as well. So thank you for your concern. And Sandy, thank you for those wonderful, kind words on Facebook. Glad that you've been enjoying the sessions. And for Asmita and her family, lots of love to both of you and the whole family. Arsolano 90, I think I've answered the question. How do you communicate externally the truth that you've accepted within yourself? So I think we've done that already. So I think we're pretty good. Thanks, Louise, that Shivani shared something on that. That's wonderful. So yesterday you were saying we spoke yesterday about leaders being role models when making these demands. Yes, this is true. So anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Lucienne, Ranju, Davina, Priya, Bryn, Denise, Aditi, Nita, Jennifer Scotland. I don't know why I always say that when I see you on. Wendy Cummins, Kailash, nice to have you. Allison, Hina, Chamra, Nicole, Kumar, Indu, so nice to have all of you. Nikki, Elizabeth, if I've missed you, don't take it personally. It is definitely not intended. Andy, how are you? You must be missing all of your activities at the... Andy, tell me that convention center, Strathmore, at the Strathmore. Anyway, I hope you're hanging in and doing well, Andy. Please take care of yourself. Andy is 99 years old and he volunteers his time at the Strathmore. I met him there when we were special guests for Iyanla's program there. Myself and Antonia went, and we just had the most wonderful time together. It was so sweet. Anyway, thanks you all. Thank you, Bonnie Meyer, again for these beautiful roses, for light brightening up our studio and our lives, and they're all perfectly paired. All perfectly paired. All right, thanks so much, everyone. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Om Shanti. Be happy, be healthy, be wise. Om Shanti. Take care. Bye-bye.